A cold silence filled the edge of human space. The stars burned as usual, but something was different. A signal whispered across the void. It was faint, broken, almost like a dying voice. The defenders, the special guardians of Earth, were the first to notice that they had been trained to listen for the smallest things, and this sound did not belong to any human ship. It was alien, strange, and too quiet. Commander Alara sat inside the command chamber of the battleship Aurora. She leaned forward, eyes locked on the hologram. A weak red dot blinked at the very edge of the map. No one knew what it meant yet, but every instinct in her body told her this was not good. Her voice was calm, but sharp. She said, "Increase the signal trace. Find out where it is coming from." The crew obeyed. At one SCI Defenders had faced many threats before pirates' rogue machines, even storms of radiation that could kill entire fleets. But this signal was different. It felt alive. It felt like something was watching them. From the dark, the ship's sensors finally locked onto the source, and the result made the crew freeze. It was not just one dot. There were many hidden inside the silence of space. Like ghosts waiting to strike, reports rushed in one colony after another. Stop sending messages. At first, Earth leaders thought it was a technical error. But when 3 colonies vanished in 3 nights, they knew this was war. The defenders were ordered to investigate, but what they found made even their fearless hearts tremble. Aurora dropped out of faster-than-light travel above a dead world. The planet below looked burned, its oceans black, cities dust, no life signs, no heat, no movement. The scanners showed only shadows, but in the middle of the ruins was something horrifying. An entire human settlement had been lifted from the ground, ripped away as if stolen. The survivors were gone, every house, every person missing, without a trace. A single distress beacon still worked. The defenders brought it aboard. Inside was a recording, the voice of a man, broken and weak. He whispered, "They should not exist. They are not supposed to be here. We buried them. We erased them." Then silence, his last breath cut off forever. The crew looked at each other, confusion and fear mixing in their eyes. What did he mean, erased? Who had been erased? Commodore Ilara ordered the ship to scan deeper, and that was when the first shape appeared, a massive structure hidden inside the planet's core. It was not human, it was alien. Its walls were smooth black stone, carved with strange patterns that seemed to move when you looked at them. Too long and deep inside the structure something worse, the frozen bodies of strange creatures, half organic, half machine, locked in ancient chambers like they had been waiting zedenly. The alien signal grew louder. The screens filled with symbols no one could read, but one word translated clearly. It said, "Remember." The defenders felt a chill across their skin. Whoever these aliens were, they had been forgotten, erased from human memory. Yet now they had returned, and they wanted humanity to remember her past, but no answers came. The defenders sent probes into the black ruins, and what they saw was terrifying, broken statues of humans kneeling before alien kings, shattered chains, still glowing faint blue. The evidence was clear. These forgotten beings had ruled humans once long ago. But why was there no record, no history of them? The Aurora moved carefully through the silent system when, without warning, the stars themselves seemed to blink for just a second. The sky darkened, then brightened again, and suddenly they were surrounded. Dozens of alien ships appeared out of nothing, their hulls black like shadows, their weapons glowing a sick green. They did not attack. They only watched, holding position in perfect silence. The defenders stood ready, hands on weapons, shields raised, but the aliens made no move. They just waited, as if enjoying the fear, as if this was a game. Then one ship broadcast a sound across all channels. It was a deep laugh, not human, not mechanical. Something in between. It echoed inside the skulls of every listener. Commander Alara clenched her fists, her voice steady. "This is the Aurora. Identify yourselves." The reply was simple, cold, and cruel. "We are what you tried to forget." Suddenly, the alien ships vanished, gone without a trace. No jump, no warp, no trail. It was as if they had never been there. But the defenders knew they were real, and they knew the humans were not ready for what was coming. The silence was now a weapon, and the forgotten aliens had declared their return. Defenders reported back to Earth, but leaders argued endlessly. Some said it was a trick, some said the defenders had imagined it. Some even said humans were safe because the aliens had not fired a single shot, but Commander Alara knew better. She had seen their eyes glowing from the shadows. She had felt the way they studied humans like hunters watching prey. And she knew they were waiting that night as the Aurora sailed quietly through the stars. The crew gathered in the hall. No one spoke for a while. The fear was too strong. Then one soldier finally whispered, "What if they are the reason humans are what we are? What if they built us? And what if they want to take it back?" The others stayed silent because deep down they feared it. Was Truth episode ends with the Aurora drifting past a dead moon, the camera of the story pulling back into the endless night, the alien laughter still echoing faint in the darkness, and one last message flashing across the screen in burning letters: "Never make humans angry, because once forgotten enemies return, they never leave." Again, the world of Vera was once alive, with voices, children running markets, buzzing ships landing and leaving. Every hour now it was nothing but silence when the defenders landed their ship Aurora on the surface. The air was heavy like a tomb. Commander Alara stepped out first, her boots sinking into dust where a city once stood. The ruins stretched as far as her eyes could see, broken towers bent like bones, scorched streets torn open as if by giant claws. Not a single bird, no wind, no sign of life, only an emptiness that seemed to breatheth. Defenders walked slowly, scanning every shadow, every ruin, each one holding their weapon tight. Fear pressed down on them, but they would not show it. They were chosen to protect humanity, but even they could feel that something unseen was watching them. A faint echo moved through the ruins. It sounded like whispers. No one could tell if it was the wind or something alive. Sergeant Dahl muttered softly, "I do not like this place. It feels wrong." They reached the colony square where once thousands of people had lived. Now it was hollow. The statue of an early settler lay broken, its face melted by some unknown weapon. In the middle of the square was the distress beacon that had called them here. It still blinked weakly, a lonely red light. Commander Alara ordered it opened. The small device crackled and played a message, the same voice they had heard before. Broken, weak, and almost mad, the survivor said again, "They should not exist. We erased them. Why are they back to defenders?" Listened in silence. No one dared to breathe. The survivor coughed, blood dripping on the recorder, and whispered, "Do not trust the silence. Do not look at the eyes." Then the recording ended. Sergeant Dahl cursed under his breath. "What does it mean, Commander?" Alara only said, "It means they are wealthy." Searched the ruins for survivors, but found nothing. The homes were empty. The streets were dead. The air itself felt drained. Then they reached the outer ring of the city, and there they saw something that froze their hearts. Rows of houses were not destroyed. They were missing completely, like they had been lifted, leaving smooth holes behind. Even the people were gone, without bones, without ashes, gone, as if erased. Specialist Eco scanned the holes. Her screen showed strange energy, unlike anything human. It hummed faintly, almost alive. She whispered softly, "This is not a weapon. This is something else, something that takes, not destroys." Commander Alara tightened her jaw. "This is worse than war. This is theftus." They moved deeper. They found symbols burned into walls, spirals, lines, circles that shifted when you stared too long. Private Keene touched one by mistake and screamed as vision slammed into his mind. He saw humans kneeling in chains, alien figures towering above them, glowing eyes burning like suns. He dropped to the ground, gasping, unable to breathe. When they pulled him back, he cried, "They were here before. We fought them before, and we lost defenders." Carried Keene back to the Aurora, his body shaking, his eyes still wide in terror. But when they tried to question him, he only whispered one word again and again: "Forgotten, forgotten, forgotten." Commander Alara ordered all data sent to Earth, but back on Earth the leaders argued. Politicians dismissed the report. Some claimed the defenders were exaggerating. Others said the recordings could be faked. One council member laughed, saying, "No species could simply vanish from all records. We know our seas history." But the older historians looked pale. They remembered scraps, old legends half erased from archives, about a war that no one was allowed to write about. Meanwhile, the defenders prepared to leave Vera when suddenly their ship sensors screamed alarms. 3 dots appeared above the planet, alien ships, black and sharp, like shadows bending in the sky. They did not attack. They hovered in silence there. Shapes glowing faint green, the defenders. Watch screens tight with fear, then one ship lowered slowly until it hovered right above the ruins, its presence. Heavy pressing against their chests, a voice came over the come deep, distorted and filled with echo. Humans, you were never meant to remember us. You buried us in silence, but silence does not last forever. Commander Alara stood firm. She shouted, "Identify yourselves. What do you want?" The voice replied. "We want what was stolen. We want to finish." What began? The defenders prepared weapons, but before they could fire, the alien ships vanished into nothing again. No jump, no light. They were simply gone. The Aurora crew stared at each other, knowing they had just been tested. It was not an attack. It was a warning. That night aboard the Aurora, sleep did not come. Soldiers sat in silence, whispering about the eyes, the visions, the laughter. Sergeant Dahl clenched his fist, saying, "If they think we are the same weak humans they once crushed, they are wrong." Commander Alara did not speak. Her mind burned with the words of the survivor. Do not trust the silent Seth. Next morning, they searched the far side of the planet. Following a faint energy trail, it led them to a cavern deep under the mountains. There they found machines still humming after centuries, black towers rising from the rock, strange symbols glowing across the walls. And at the center, a cage. Inside the cage floated a sphere of light. It pulsed softly like a heart. The scanner screamed. With unknown readings, Specialist ICO stepped closer, eyes wide. "This is not a weapon. This is memory. This is what they erased from us, Commander." Ilara asked. "Can it speak, ICO?" Adjusted controls. The sphere flickered, then a voice filled the cavern. "Was human yet not human," it said. "They will come again. They always come again. Humanity must remember who they are." Suddenly, the cavern shook, rocks falling as if the planet itself rejected the discovery. The defenders grabbed the sphere and ran back to the ship. As the mountain collapsed behind them, once aboard the Aurora, they locked the artifact in containment. The sphere glowed brighter, almost like it was alive. That night, when the crew slept, the sphere whispered across the ship. It spoke in dreams. Each defender saw visions of an ancient war of humans in chains, humans rising in fire, humans burning the sky with fury, and the forgotten aliens screaming in defeat. When the crew awoke, they were shaken, but united. They understood now. The forgotten had ruled before and had been erased, but not destroyed. They were returning to take back what they lost. Commander Alara stood before her crew. She said, "We cannot wait for Earth to believe us. We are defenders. It is our duty to face this threat before it swallows us again." The crew answered with one voice, "Red Yes." The Aurora left Vera. The camera of the story pulled back into the void, and far behind the planet, in the black of space, the shadow ships reappeared, watching their prey, patient and silent. The leader of the Forgotten spoke to his kind. "Let them remember, let their fear grow, because when humans are angry they burn, and when they burn, the stars will bleed." Silent war had only just begun. Aurora cut through the black of space. Silent engines pushing it toward the dead star system, marked by the strange signal. The defenders sat intense, quiet, each one thinking about the sphere of memory now locked in the containment chamber. It pulsed softly like a beating heart, sometimes whispering words that no one wanted to hear. Commander Alara stood at the viewing window, staring into the stars. She did not blink. She did not move, her thoughts heavy with what lay ahead. The journey lasted 2 days, during which the crew grew restless, their sleep filled with visions they could not explain. Some dreamed of burning skies. Some saw alien eyes glowing in the dark. Others felt the weight of chains on their arms when they woke. They were drenched in sweat. The youngest defender, Private Keen, whispered that the sphere was inside their minds, and that it wanted them to remember when they arrived at the dead star system. The view was haunting. The star was gone, collapsed long ago, leaving only a black void where light once lived around. It drifted, broken planets shattered into pieces as if some great hand had smashed them into dust fragments. Floated glowing faint red from old fire. The Aurora's scanners picked up strange readings, energy pulses like heartbeats coming from deep inside one of the dead planets. Commander Ilara ordered the ship closer. The defenders held their breath as the Aurora moved between floating rocks and broken shards of mountains. Soon a massive structure revealed itself, hidden in the shadow of the Dead world, it was not natural, it was not human, it was alien, the ruins of a fortress bigger than any city, its walls black, its towers still glowing faint green despite centuries of silence. It pulsed like it was alive, waiting as they entered orbit. Around the fortress, the ship's lights flickered, the systems shook, alarms screamed. Specialist ICO. Lay yelled, "The fortress is broadcasting something into our ship, Commander." Ilara ordered, "Cut the link," but it was too late. The screens lit up with images. Ancient recordings of humans kneeling in chains, alien figures standing tall, their eyes glowing like suns, their voices speaking in a language long buried yet somehow understood. They said, "Once you bowed, once you served, once you broke, now you will." Against defenders felt anger rise inside them, but also fear. This was proof the survivor had been right. Humans had been enslaved by the forgotten, and then erased. The question was how and why the Aurora's probe was sent down to the fortress. Its cameras revealed broken halls filled with statues of the aliens, tall and thin, their skin like stone, their hands long, their teeth sharp like blades. In every hall, humans were carved on their knees, heads bowed. The statues were worn, but the meaning was clear: domination, submission. Chain's probe reached the central chamber, and there lay a massive door sealed by glowing lines. It pulsed faint green, the same color as the alien ship's. Specialist ICO whispered, "It is a vault, something is inside." The sphere in containment glowed brighter, as if answering the vault. Then suddenly the ship shook. A scream ripped through the comm channels. The alien voice laughing again, it said, "You were supposed to forget, we made you forget, but the memory has returned." Its defenders rushed to battle stations outside the fortress. Ships appeared, dozens of them, black, sharp, and silent, their eyes glowing green. They surrounded the Aurora like predators around prey, but they did not fire, not yet. Commander Ilara ordered, "Shields up, weapons ready." The aliens broadcast again, not with words, this time but with images. Each defender saw visions in their minds, chains around their arms, the sound of whips, the taste of dust on their tongues, the forgotten walking past them as if they were nothing's. Argent Doll slammed his fists on the console, shouting, "Get out of my head." The visions broke, but the echo of laughter remained. Commander Lara gave the order, "Fire." Warning shots. The Aurora's cannons roared, beams of light tearing through the dark, hitting empty space. The alien ships moved like shadows, flickering from place to place, impossible to track. They did not return fire. They only moved closer, circling like hunters. Stan, the vault inside the fortress, opened. The walls, sliding apart with a scream of metal light, burst out, flooding space. The alien ships froze, then bowed their forms. Bending toward the fortress as if worshipping what was inside. From the vault rose a giant figure, half machine, half flesh, its body covered in black armor, its head glowing, green eyes burning like twin suns. It was a forgotten lord, one of the rulers from the old war, somehow still alive, sealed inside the fortress for Centaurus. The defenders stared in shock. Private Keen whispered in terror, "That is what erased us." Commander Ilara stood tall, her voice steady. "This is what we must face." The alien lord's voice filled every corner of the ship, not through comms, not through speakers, but inside their minds. It said, "We owned you once, and we will own you again. You erased our name, but you cannot erase fear. Fear is your truth. Fear is your chain." Aurora shook violently, systems screaming as the alien lord's power pressed against them. Lights flickered, weapons failed. Specialist ICO struggled to keep control, her hands flying across the console, but the energy was too strong. Then the sphere in containment burst into light, sending waves across the ship. The alien pressure broke for a moment. The defenders gasped for air, and the alien lord roared in rage. The sphere spoke through the ship, its voice human yet ancient. It said, "Stand, resist. Remember who you are, Rethi." Defenders steadied themselves. Shields recovered. "Weapons returned," Sergeant Dahl shouted. "If they want war, we give them war." Commander Ilara nodded. "Open fire." The Aurora unleashed its full arsenal, beams tearing through the black ship's. Explosions lit the dead star system. Fragments of alien hulls burning like meteors, but for each ship destroyed more appeared. Shadows birthing shadows, endless and silent. Alien lord moved closer, its massive form dwarfing the Aurora, green fire dripping from its hands. It reached out like a god ready to crush a toy, but the sphere glowed brighter. Pulsing with fury, sending shockwaves that pushed the alien back, the defenders used the moment to fire again. Their cannons striking the Lord's chest, making it stumble, but it did not fall. Its voice shook the system with anger you cannot kill what is already forgotten. The battle raged long and desperate, the Aurora dodging through broken planets, firing at every shadow, ships exploding around them, defenders shouting over alarms. Smoke filling halls, but still they fought, refusing to bow. Then suddenly the alien ships stopped, every single one, frozen space, silent, unmoving. The alien lord raised its head and said, "Enough. You are not ready yet. The time will come when your fury will burn the stars, but not now." Then, with a blinding flash, the Lord and its ships vanished into the black, as if they had never been. Aurora floated in silence. Engines, damaged weapons drained the defenders. Exhausted but alive commander Alara looked at her crew, every face burned with the same fire. They had seen what waited. In the shadows they had felt the chains of the past. They knew the forgotten were real. And they knew the war had only begun. Pravate Keen whispered in the quiet. "Cannot win this, can we?" Commander Alara answered calmly. "We will not let them erase us again." Sergeant Dahl growled. "They want to see us angry. Let them, because when humans are angry, we do not kneel, we riseth." Aurora turned away from the dead star system, leaving the ruins behind. But far in the black, unseen by any scanner, the alien Lord watched, still alive, still waiting, and its voice whispered softly to the void, "Let them prepare. Let them dream of fury, for when they burn, they will burn themselves, and when they fall, we will rise." Again, silent war had now become a remembered war, and memory was more dangerous than any weapon. The Aurora drifted through the dark, its engines weak, sparks flickering across its damaged hull. Inside, the crew moved slowly, their bodies heavy, their minds haunted by the vision of the alien Lord they had faced in the dead star system. Silence filled the halls, not just the silence of space, but the silence of fear. The defenders had survived, but survival felt like a small victory compared to the storm that was coming. Commander Alara stood alone in the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly around her, but she could not enjoy them. Her thoughts were heavy with questions. Who were these forgotten? Why had humans erased their existence? And most of all, what was the terrible weapon that had failed to end them centuries ago? Her reflection in the glass looked tired, older than she was, yet her eyes still burned with determination. In the lower decks, Sergeant Dahl worked with engineers to repair the ship, his hands covered in oil, his jaw clenched tight. He had no patience for fear. When a young recruit asked him what chance they had against an enemy that could erase worlds, he snapped and said, "We are humans. We do not need chance. We make our own fate." His anger was a shield, but inside even he felt the weight of dread. Private Keen lay in the medbay, his body trembling from the visions burned into his mind. He kept whispering words he did not understand, fragments of the forgotten language. Sometimes his eyes glowed faint green before returning to normal. The medics were afraid of him. They thought he was being changed by the sphere, by the enemy, but Commander Alara refused to abandon him. She said, "If the forgotten touched his mind, then maybe his mind holds the key to fight them." In the command chamber, Specialist Aiko studied the sphere of memory, its pulsing light casting shadows on her face. She had not slept in days. The whispers from the sphere had grown louder, and now they spoke in clear words, fragments of history that chilled her blood. She heard voices of ancient humans screaming. She saw images of chains, as she saw fire spreading across stars, and she saw the moment humans unleashed a weapon so powerful that even the forgotten feared it. Yet that weapon had not destroyed them. It had only buried the truth. She reported to Alara, saying, "I think our ancestors built something terrible too. And the forgotten, but it failed. Or maybe it was never meant to kill. Maybe it was meant to erase memory itself." Alara frowned. Why erase them instead of destroying them? Aiko shook her head. Maybe they could not be destroyed, maybe. The only way to win was to make humanity forget they ever existed. Before Alara could reply, alarms screamed across the ship. Enemy contact, dozens of signals appearing at once. The crew rushed to battle station screens filled with glowing green shapes. Alien ships, moving fast like shadows tearing through the void. The Aurora was too damaged for a full fight. They had no choice but to run. Engines roared, shields sparked, as the defenders pushed the ship into faster-than-light drive the stars. It stretched into lines, and the enemy signals vanished when the ship dropped back to normal space. They found themselves near an abandoned mining world called Karnos, its surface blackened by centuries of work. Now silent, empty, the Aurora landed to make repairs, but as soon as the defenders stepped onto the planet, they felt something wrong. The air was thick with ash to the ground. Cracked. Under their boots, and strange symbols were carved into the rocks, spirals, and eyes. Glowing faint green even after years, Sergeant Dahl spat on the ground, saying they were here. Long before us, this place was theirs. The defenders explored the mines and discovered massive caverns filled with strange machinery, black towers pulsing faintly like sleeping hearts deeper inside. They found bones, not alien bones, human bones, thousands of them piled high. The defenders stood in silence, realizing that this world had once been a prison, a place where humans were worked until death under forgotten rule. Private Keene collapsed, screaming chains burning across his arms. In visions, he saw the truth. He saw humans whipped, beaten, forced to mine crystals that glowed with green fire. He saw the forgotten standing above, laughing eyes like suns. He shouted, "They used us to feed their machines. They used our blood to keep their empire alive." The defenders pulled him back, but the visions spread into their own minds, flashes of cruelty and despair. Back on the Aurora, Ilara ordered the sphere activated once more. The light filled the ship and spoke in its strange human voice. "Long ago we rose in chains. Long ago we broke the sky with our fury, but the enemy was too strong, so we chose silence. We chose to forget." Ilara clenched her fists, asking what was the weapon. What did our ancestors use? The sphere pulsed brighter, then showed an image. A star collapsing in fire, not natural but forced by human hands, an artificial supernova. The defenders stared in horror, realizing their ancestors. It built a weapon that could destroy entire systems, yet even that had not been enough too. In the forgotten, the sphere whispered again, "They cannot be killed. Only erased, only hidden, only forgotten." Ilara said, "No, we will not erase them again. We will end them." The Aurora finished repairs and prepared to leave Karnos, but the sky above the planet darkened. The forgotten fleet had followed them, massive ships descending like shadows, their glowing eyes piercing the clouds. The defenders rushed to stations, but the alien voice filled the comms. Again, deep and cruel humans, you were given mercy once, you were allowed to forget, but you chose to remember now. You will pay the price. The alien ships opened fire beams of green, cutting across the surface, explosions tearing through the mines. The Aurora lifted into the sky, weapons blazing, defenders shouting. The battle shook the planet, mountains crumbling. Dust rising like storms, the Aurora fired everything it had, destroying ships one after another, but more came, endless like waves from the dark. The alien lord appeared above the battlefield, towering massive, its body glowing with fire, its voice shaking. "The ground we gave you silence, now we give you death." The Aurora fired directly at it, beams tearing across its chest, but the wounds healed. Instantly, green light sealing the damage. Ilara shouted, "Keep firing, do not stop." The crew obeyed, but their weapons drained fast, their shields cracked, alarms screamed. The ship shook violently in the chaos. Private Keene walked to the containment chamber, his eyes glowing bright. The sphere called to him, whispering louder, louder. He touched it, and the ship exploded with light. The Aurora vanished from sight, pulled through space into darkness. The defenders screamed as their ship was dragged somewhere beyond normal stars. When the light cleared, they were floating above a strange world, a world glowing blue, covered in ruins and towers reaching into the sky. The sphere whispered again. This is where it began. This is where humans first fought the forgotten. The defenders stared at the planet, realizing they'd been thrown into the heart of their own erased history. Commander Ilara said quietly, then, "This is where we will learn how to finish it, far behind in the SCI ruined system." The alien lord roared in rage, sensing the Aurora had slipped from its grasp. Its voice thundered across the fleet. "No matter, they cannot run forever. They will remember, and when they remember, they will suffer." The defenders stood together above the ancient world, their ship damaged, their hearts heavy, but their fire alive. They knew the truth was here, and they knew the war was not just for survival. It was for the soul of humanity itself, the forgotten. Wanted silence, but humans had chosen fury, and fury would not be erased. The Aurora drifted slowly into orbit above the strange blue world. The crew stood at the viewing windows in silence. Their eyes wide, the planet glowed faintly, as if light itself was leaking from its surface. Broken towers stretched into the sky. Their tops shattered ruins lay across vast plains, ancient cities buried under vines and stone. Commander Alara's voice was low. This is where it began. Specialist Aiko scanned the surface, her screen filled with energy. Spikes unlike anything she had seen before. She whispered, "The readings are unstable, like the planet is still alive." Private Keen pressed his hand against the glass, his eyes glowing faintly with the strange light. He said softly, "I know this place. I have seen it in dreams." The others exchanged uneasy glances. His connection to the sphere was growing strong. Girth defenders landed near one of the ruined cities. The air was heavy but breathable. The silence pressed against their ears, louder than sound. Sergeant Dahl led the way, his weapon ready. Every step crunched on broken stone. As they entered the city, they saw carvings on the walls. Massive murals showing battles, humans fighting aliens, humans falling in chains, and then humans rising again, their faces twisted in fury. The images glowed faint blue, like they had been burned into the stone itself. Commander Alara stopped at one, carving it. Showed a human holding a burning star in their hands, unleashing it against an alien fleet. The explosion covered the wall. Eiko touched it, and her scanner screamed, "The stone is not stone, it is fused energy, frozen in time." Whatever happened here was real. Private Keen fell to his knees, gripping his head, visions pouring through him. He shouted, "Fire everywhere, chains breaking, screams filling the air. I see them, I see us. We fought here, we bled here." This is where the forgotten learned to fear. USC's defenders pushed deeper into the ruins, until they reached the heart of the city, a massive hall still standing, though broken. Inside were hundreds of empty thrones carved from black stone. In front of them stood a single throne larger than all the rest, and upon it sat a figure, not alive, not dead, a corpse wrapped in armor glowing faint green. Its eyes long, dark, yet still staring. Aiko whispered, "That was their leader, the one our ancestors faced." Ancestors faced. Suddenly the sphere inside the Aurora pulsed so bright it shook the ruins. The corpse opened its mouth, and a voice filled the hall. It was not the voice of the dead leader, but the voice of memory, deep and human. "Long ago we were broken. Long ago we rose. They took our chains. They took our names, but we gave them fire. We gave them fury." The defenders listened in silence, their hearts pounding. The voice continued, "We built the Starhammer here, the weapon to end them, but the cost was too high. We used it once and swore never again." Commander Lara's fists clenched. "What is the Starhammer?" The voice answered, "A sun turned into a blade, a weapon that can cut through time and erase not just life, but history itself." Private Keen gasped. "That is why they fear our memory. They fear the Starhammer bore." They could ask more. The ground shook, dust falling from the ceiling. The defenders rushed outside and saw the sky filled with shadows, alien ships descending like vultures, green light piercing the clouds. The forgotten had found them. The alien lord's voice thundered across the planet. "Humans, you dare walk among your erased history. You dare awaken what was buried. You will pay with your blood." Defenders ran back to the Aurora, but alien fire rained down, explosions tearing through the ruins. The Aurora's shields flared as it lifted into the sky, beams of light cutting through enemy ships. The battle was chaos, fire and smoke filling the air. The defenders shouted orders, their voices drowned by alarms. Sergeant Dahl roared, "Keep firing! Do not let them surround us." The ship shook violently, sparks flying from consoles, but the crew refused to stop. Alien Lord appeared above the battlefield, his massive form glowing brighter than before, his eyes burning like twin stars. His voice shook the ground. "You cannot win. You cannot kill us. You cannot erase what is eternal." Commander Alara shouted into. "Comes, we are not here to erase. We are here to end you." The Aurora fired everything its cannons, ripping through enemy ranks, ships exploding one after another, but more came. Endless waves of shadows pervade. Keen collapsed again, visions ripping through him, his voice trembling. "I see it. I see the star hammer. It is here hidden beneath this planet. We must find it, or we will all die. Ilara hesitated, but the sphere pulsed bright, confirming his words. The defenders changed course. Instead of fleeing, they dove toward the planet, flying through fire and ruins as alien ships chased them. Aurora landed hard near a mountain carved with strange spirals. The defenders rushed inside, chased by explosions. Deep tunnels stretched below, glowing faintly with blue light. At the end of the tunnels lay a massive chamber larger than any city. Within it was a machine. So fast it seemed to merge with the planet itself. Towers of crystal, rising like spires, rivers of light flowing through conduits in the center. A core burning brighter than any sun. Eco gasped. This is the star hammer. Alien fleet surrounded the planet, preparing to strike. The alien lord's voice filled the chamber. Humans, you do not know what you touch. That weapon will not save you. It will destroy you. The defenders ignored him. Ilara shouted, "Activate it!" Aiko hesitated, her hands shaking. "Commander, if we ignite, the cost may be everything." Ilar's eyes were fierce then. "Let it cost everything, but not our freedom." Private Keen stepped forward, his body glowing brighter, the sphere in his chest. He whispered, "I was chosen to remember, I was chosen to awaken it." He placed his hands on the core. The star hammer roared to life. The entire planet trembled. Light surged through the ruins, shooting into the sky. The alien fleet froze. As if struck by terror, the alien lord screamed, "No, you cannot awaken it again." The Aurora's crew shielded their eyes as the core blazed with fury. Starhammer released a wave of energy, blinding, bright, cutting across space. Alien ships burned into ash in seconds, their shadows erased, their names ripped from the stars. The alien lord himself staggered, roaring, his body cracking under the fury. He screamed, "This is not the end. Humans, you will burn with us." Then his form shattered, exploding into fragments of green fire that scattered into the void. When the light faded, the defenders found themselves alive, but the planet was breaking. The star hammer had awakened, but the cost was clear. Mountains crumbled, oceans boiled, the ground split open. Ilara ordered, "Everyone back to the Aurora." The defenders ran through shaking tunnels as the world collapsed around them, rocks falling, towers shattering, fire consuming everything they reached. The ship, just as the surface tore apart, the Aurora launched into the sky, leaving the dying world behind. Orbit, they watched the planet implode into light, the Starhammer's core collapsing into silence. The ruins gone forever, the crew sat in silence, the weight heavy in their chests. Private Keen lay weak in medbay, his body burned by the energy of the Starhammer. Yet his eyes still glowed faint blue. He whispered softly, "They will come again." This was only one of them. Commander Ilara stood on the deck, her voice quiet but strong. "They want us to fear them, they want us to forget, but we are defenders. We will never forget, and we will never kneel again." The crew answered in one voice, ready. In the far dark of space, a whisper echoed from the fragments of the alien lord, "Not destroyed, not erased, but waiting. We are not finished. We will return. When your fury fades, we will rise again." Defenders did not hear it, but they would soon learn the truth. The forgotten were not just enemies. They were shadows of humanity's past, and shadows do not die. They only wait. Aurora floated in deep space, its engines humming faintly as the crew worked in silence. The memory of the Starhammer still burned in their minds. They had watched an entire planet collapse. They had unleashed a weapon older than any of them could understand, and they had seen the alien lord break apart in fire. Yet no one felt victory, only a deep unease, because the whisper of the forgotten still lingered in their heads. Commander Ilara walked the halls of the ship, her boots echoing against metal. She stopped at the medbay, where Private Keen lay, pale and trembling, his body weak from touching the Starhammer. His eyes flickered with faint blue light, sometimes glowing so bright it hurt to look at him. He spoke in broken sentences, words half human, half alien, sometimes screaming in his sleep. Sergeant Dahl stood guard nearby, arms crossed, his face hard, but his eyes worried. Ilara asked, "How is he?" Dahl shook his head. "He is changing, Commander. I do not like it," Ilara replied. "He is the reason we survived," Dahl muttered softly. "Maybe, but maybe he is also the reason we will Fallon, the command chamber specialist Aiko. Studied the data from the Starhammer. Her eyes red from lack of sleep, she whispered to herself over and over it was not meant to kill it. It was meant to erase the memory of the enemy. The forgotten could not be destroyed, only hidden, only buried in silence. Her fingers moved quickly across the console, piecing together fragments of history that should not exist. She gasped when the answer appeared. The Starhammer was not a single weapon, it was part of many. Scattered across the galaxy, pieces of a chain, each one powerful enough to erase worlds when combined. Unstoppable-ish reported to Alara, saying, "Commander, the weapon we saw was only one Starhammer. There are more hidden and forgotten places if the enemy finds them first, they can erase us again." Ilara's eyes narrowed. Then we must find them before they do. Before they could plan, the ship's alarms screamed. The screens filled with green light, dozens of signals surrounding them, alien ships, sharp and black, crawling out of the dark like shadows. The defenders rushed to battle stations, shields up, weapons hot. The Aurora shook as beams of green fire slammed into its hull, sparks flying across consoles. Sergeant Dahl shouted, "They are everywhere." The ship rocked hard, bodies thrown against walls, but the defenders fought back. Their cannons roared, beams of blue light ripping through enemy ships, explosions flashing like dying Starsthon. The Cums filled with a voice deep and cruel. Not the Lord they thought they had destroyed, but another, its tone colder, more venomous. "Humans, you play with fire, you awaken what you do not understand. You think fury will save you, but fury blinds, fury burns." Ilara shouted back, "We will never kneel." The voice laughed. "We do not want you to kneel. We want you to destroy yourself." Sadly, the alien ships stopped firing. They surrounded the Aurora, but held their position like predators waiting. The defenders were confused. Sergeant Dahl growled, "What game are they playing?" The answer came when Private Keen's voice filled the Cums. Not in fear, but in calm, cold clarity. His eyes glowing bright, he said, "They do not need to destroy us. They only need us to remember. They are inside me, inside." All of us, the crew, froze. Staring at him, the alien fleet remained. Still watching, Ilara shouted, "Keen, fight it. Do not let them take you." Keen's voice shook. "I cannot fight them. They are part of me, part of humanity. We are their creation." The room fell silent, his words sinking like knives. Echo whispered, "No, it cannot be true." Keen nodded slowly, visions burning across his mind. "Humans were born weak, but they changed us. They shaped us. They gave us resilience. They gave us fury. We are their experiment." Sergeant Dahl roared, "Liar. Humans are no one's creation. We made ourselves." Keen looked at him with glowing eyes and whispered then, "Why do we burn when we are angry? Why does our fury terrify them? Because it is theirs as much as our spore." Anyone could speak. The alien voice returned, mused. "Now you begin to understand. You cannot kill us without killing yourselves. You cannot erase us without erasing what you are." Ilara clenched her fists, her voice firm. "We do not need to erase you. We will defeat you." The voice laughed again. "Defeat us, then defeat yourselves." The fleet vanished into the void, leaving the Aurora. Drifting, Alaneth's crew was shaken, the silence heavy on their hearts. Ilara gathered them in the hall, her voice steady. "They want us to believe we are theirs. They want us to doubt who we are. But listen to me, we are human. Our chains are broken. We are not their slaves anymore. They may have touched our past, but they do not own our future." The defenders shouted in agreement, their voices strong, though their fear still lingered. Later, Aiko approached Ilara with grim news. "The Starhammer is not only a weapon, it is a lock. If all are awakened together, they will not just erase memory, they will erase time itself entire. Species gone as if they never lived. If the forgotten control it, they will rewrite the galaxy." Elara's face hardened then. "We must find the next Starhammer. Before they do, the Aurora set course, following faint signals whispered by the sphere. Keen guided them, his body glowing brighter with every jump, his mind filled with maps. He should not know. The crew grew uneasy, watching him, but they had no choice. He was their compass and their cursed days. Later they arrived at a system hidden behind a nebula, storms of lightning flashing across space. Inside the storm lay a planet of fire, its surface cracked rivers of lava. Flowing towers of black stone rising from the heat, and in the heart of the planet, another pulse like the Starhammer. The defenders descended into the firestorms, fighting to keep the ship steady, lightning slamming into shields, the air burning. Red as they landed on the molten surface inside, the towers they found more carvings, more history humans, chained humans. Screaming humans rising with weapons in hand, and at the center of the chamber, another core, smaller than the first but still. Powerful, it pulsed faint blue waiting. Aiko whispered, "This is another piece of the chain." Before they could approach, the ground shook. Fire erupting around them, alien ships tearing through the sky, the forgotten head Eraveth. Aurora lifted again. Cannons blazing beams cutting through the storm, defenders shouting orders. The battle was chaos, fire, lightning explosions. The alien fleet poured into the system, endless shadows. Pressing closer, the Aurora fought with fury, but the enemy was too many. Then Private Keen stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Let me touch it. Let me awaken it again." Ilara shouted, "No, it nearly killed you." Before Keen's eyes glowed. "Bright if I do not." We all placed his hands on the core, light exploding across the chamber. The planet roared as energy ripped through its heart. Alien ships froze, their hulls cracking under the power. The Forgotten screamed in rage. "No, not again. You cannot awaken the chain." The Aurora blasted free from the planet as the core unleashed its fury, waves of blue fire ripping through the enemy ships, tearing them apart one by one, until silence filled the void. Agenkin collapsed unconscious, his body burned, but alive. Ilara held him, her face hard with pain. She whispered, "Hold on, soldier, we still need you." The Aurora drifted away from the dying planet, watching it sink into silence. Once more, but even in victory, the defenders knew the truth. The Forgotten would not stop. They would chase them, across every star, every world, until either humanity or the Forgotten were gone. The war was no longer about memory. It was about survival, about identity, about who truly owned the fire inside the human Saland in the endless dark. The fragments of alien voices whispered again. "We are not finished. You are us, and we are you. When your fury consumes you, we will rise from the ashes." The Aurora drifted in silence, its hull scorched from the battle over the fire planet. The crew moved like ghosts through the corridors, their faces tired, their eyes haunted. They had survived, but survival felt like a shadow of victory. Commander Ilara stood at the viewing deck, watching the stars slip past her reflection, looked older, lines of worry carved deep across her face. Behind her, Sergeant Dahl approached, his voice low. "We cannot keep this up, Commander. The ship is bleeding. The crew is breaking." Ilara did not turn. She only said, "If we stop, we die. If we slow, they catch us." Dahl growled, "Maybe, but if we burn ourselves out, the end will be the same." Ilara finally looked at him, her eyes sharp. "Then we burn brighter until they cannot stand our lighting." The medbay. Private Keen lay still, his body glowing faintly, blue veins of light running under his skin. He whispered in broken tones, even in his sleep, fragments of alien words spilling from his lips. Doctor remonitored him closely, machines humming around the bed. The doctor's face was pale, sweat running down her temple. She whispered to Ilara, "When she came, he is changing. Faster, Commander. His body is adapting to the energy of the cores. He is no longer just human." Ilara's jaw tightened. "Then what is he?" Ree shook her head. "I do not know, but if the change continues, he might be the key or the weapon that ends a Aiko worked endlessly at her station, her eyes bloodshot, maps of old space filling her screen's lines of code. Glowing symbols spinning, she had pieced together a pattern across the galaxy. A hidden path. She called Ilara to the console and pointed. "Commander, look, every Starhammer is placed in a line like links of a chain, and at the center of the chain, something greater, a core stronger than all of them together." Ilara frowned stronger. Aiko nodded. "If the Forgotten reach it first, they will not only erase memory or time, they will erase meaning itself. Entire civilizations will vanish, as if they never mattered." Ilara whispered then, "That is where we go." The crew gathered in the command hall, their faces grim. Ilara told them the truth. There is one final core greater than the rest. We must reach it before the Forgotten do. They will throw everything they have at us to stop us." Sergeant Dahl spat. "Good, let them." Come, we will give them fury. They have never seen the defenders raised there. Voices in agreement, their fear drowned by anger, by pride, by defiance. Aurora set course. The journey took them through graveyards of dead worlds. Planets shattered into dust ruins, floating in space like bones the forgotten had been here before. Erasing every trace of life. The crew watched in silence. Some clenched their fists, some wept quietly, some whispered prayers. Private Keene opened his eyes during the voyage, his voice steady now. The more cores I touch, the more I see. I know their thoughts, I know their plans, Ilara asked. What do you see? He whispered. They are afraid of us. They call us broken fire. They fear what happens when we burn beyond control. Suddenly alarms screamed. The Aurora shook under heavy fire. Dozens of alien ships clawed from the darkness, their weapons cutting bright lines. Across space, the defenders rushed to stations. The battle lit the void, explosions burning like new stars. The Aurora spun and struck back, its cannons roaring, tearing through enemy holes, but for every ship destroyed, two more appeared. The forgotten came in waves, endless shadows drowning the light. In the chaos, Private Keene stood, his body glowing brighter, his voice echoing like thunder. Let me out there. Let me face them. Ilara shouted. No, you are not ready. Keene's voice cracked. I was born for this. He ripped free from his restraints, his glow burning white, his body floating above the deck, his eyes no longer human. He raised his hands and a surge of blue fire erupted from him, cutting through the hull into space itself. Alien ships froze their weapons, dying their engines, shutting down. As if time had stopped, the defenders watched in awe. The forgotten screamed across, come stop him, he is the keyboat. Keene could not stop the fire poured from him. Uncontrolled, it ripped through fleets, tearing ships apart in silence light. Brighter than suns, the Aurora was caught in the wave shields, trembling hull, screaming as if the ship itself could feel pain. Lara shouted, Keene, stop, you will kill us all. But Keene's voice was calm, even as his body burned. I am not killing us, Commander. I am showing them what it means to be humanthe. Fire faded, the alien fleet gone. Nothing but dust floating in space. The Aurora drifted in silence again. The crew looked at Keene. His body collapsed, his chest rising weakly, but alive, his glow dimmer. Ilara knelt beside him, her hand gripping his. He whispered, They fear us, because we are not theirs anymore. We are something else, something even they cannot control. Then he closed his eyes. Concha Seiko studied the readings, her voice trembling. Commander, he bent the laws of physics, his energy pulse froze their ships in time. He should not have been able to do that, Ilara whispered, but he did, and now they will hunt us harder than ever. Aurora limped through the void, repairs underway. The crew quiet, every sound heavy with exhaustion. Then a signal pierced the silence, not from the forgotten, but from humans. A fleet answering their distress calls, ships larger than Aurora, bristling with weapons, voices strong and fierce. This is the Iron Shield Fleet reporting, we heard your call, and we stand ready. Commander Ilara felt hope stir in her chest for the first time in many days. Humanity was not alone in this. 5 combined fleet moved together, cutting through forgotten. Patrols carving a path toward the final core, every battle more brutal, every victory more costly. Human ships burned one by one, but they pressed forward, fury driving them, rage turning their fear into fire. The forgotten screamed across the stars, desperate to hold them back, but humans pushed harder, united like never before. And the chain ended before them, a dead star, black and cold, drifting in endless dark at its heart. A vast structure larger than any ship, larger than any city, a machine. Built from stone and fire, glowing faintly with forgotten energy, this was the core, the end of the chain, the heart of silence. The defenders stared at it in awe and dread. Before they could act, the forgotten arrived, not a fleet, not 1,000 ships, but millions, an endless storm of shadows filling every inch of space. Their voices thundered together, humans. You cannot win this. You are children playing with fire. You are the echo of our design. We will erase you not once, not twice, but forever. Human fleet formed ranks, their ships glowing shields. Raised weapons armed, their captains shouted through the coms, we are not children. We We're not echoes. We are the storm of our own making, and we will show you what it means to fight humans, screamed. Together, their voices echoing across the void, humanity united against the endless Tidine. The command chamber, Alara looked at her crew, their faces lit by fire. Sergeant Dahl, with his fists clenched, ready to tear worlds apart. Aiko, with her eyes sharp, her mind burning with resolve. Dr. Ree, with trembling hands, steadying herself for the wounded. Keen, lying pale but glowing faint light, whispering, "I will rise." Again, Commander Alara stood tall, her voice cutting through the storm. They think we are forgotten. They think we are weak. They think we are theirs. They are wrong. We are human, and we will make them. Rememberth, battle began, the void filled with fire, human ships clashing with alien shadows, explosions blooming like stars' weapons. Screaming through the dark, the Forgotten unleashed everything, every weapon, every scream. Every whisper trying to crush human spirit, but humans did not bend. They rose higher, they burned brighter, their fury unstoppable in the heart of the storm. The Aurora pushed forward, racing toward the core because the defenders knew this war would not end with victory alone, it would end with a choice. A choice that would decide if humanity would survive free or vanish into silence forever. Void burned with light as the final battle raged, human ships locked in combat with the endless waves of forgotten vessels. The darkness of space glowed red and blue as explosions ripped across the stars. The Aurora led the charge, its damaged hull sparking, but still moving forward, like a beast refusing to die. Commander Alara stood at the helm, her voice steady, even as the ship trembled under fire. Push through, hold nothing back. This ends now, Sergeant Dahl shouted. Orders, his face lit by the glow of flames that burst through cracked panels, his voice rough like stone. We take them down, or we burn with them, no turning back. Forgotten screamed across, comes their words echoing like thunder. You will fail, humans, you will break, you are nothing. But sparks in the storm. Alara clenched her fists, her voice sharp. If we are sparks, then watch us set the galaxy on fire. Private Teen lay on the medbay table, his body glowing faint blue, his breath shallow. Dr. Ree worked frantically to stabilize him, wires and machines humming around him. His eyes opened weakly, his voice broken. Commander Alara, here. Me, I can feel the core. It is not just a weapon, it is alive. It remembers everything it feels. Everything. Alara heard his voice through the coms. Her heart tightening, she answered, "Hold on, Keen. We need you," he whispered. "You will not win with weapons alone. The core must be awakened, and only I can touch if human fleet fought." Like lions tearing through endless shadows, but the forgotten ships kept coming, wave after wave, the sky filled with fire debris of both alien and human ships scattering into the void. The Iron Shield fleet burned, bright ships holding their ground until the last breath. One captain shouted, "Across comes, we will not yield. Humanity will be remembered." His voice cut as his ship exploded into fire. Illyra's jaw tightened, but her eyes stayed forward. Specialist, Aiko screamed from her console. "Commander, the core is opening. The structure is alive, panels shifting, energy surging like a heartbeat." The forgotten ships pulled back for a moment, forming a wall of shadows around the core, their voices a single roar, "Stay away." "This is ours," Alara growled. "Not anymore." The Aurora pushed through its engines, screaming pieces of hull breaking away. Sergeant Dahl roared like a beast as he fired cannons cutting through alien ships. His eyes wild, his hands steady, Alara shouted to the crew, "This is the moment we came for. Every life, every battle has led to this. Now we make them remember." Thror pulsed, a deep sound rippling across the void. It was not light, not fire, but memory itself, fragments of voices from lost civilizations. Whispers of songs, laughter, screams, prayers, all echoing across space. The defenders felt it in their bones, Dr. Ree whispered in shock. It remembers everything, every world they erased still lives inside. Idaiko gasped. Then if Keen touches it, he will not only awaken it, he will unleash all that was lost. Private Keen forced himself up from the medbay bed, his glow stronger now, his veins shining like rivers of fire. He whispered, "I have to do this. I was chosen or cursed for this moment." Dr. Ree grabbed his arm. "Desperate, you will die if you touch." Iddy looked at her, his eyes calm maybe, but if I do not, we all die. The Aurora cut through the last line of forgotten ships. Its hull burning, its shields gone, flames ripping through corridors, alarms screaming, the defenders held their ground there. Eyes blazing with fury and defiance, Elara shouted, "Keen, now the core is yours." Keen staggered to the airlock, his body blazing brighter. Every step a soldier carried him until the glow pushed them back too strong for anyone to touch. He floated into the dark space, drifting toward the massive structure of the core. It pulsed as if it was alive, waiting for him. The Forgotten screamed in terror. "Stop him, stop!" The human, the chosen, the cursed human ships fired to shield him, their weapons burning. Alien ships swarming like shadows, but they could not reach him. He was a comet, a star blazing across the void. His voice echoed across every channel, across every ship, across every heart. "I am human, I am broken, I am fire, and you will never erase." As he reached the core, his hands touching the surface, his body bursting into pure light, the structure shook, energy spilling out across the stars. The Forgotten screamed as their ships shattered, their shadows burned away, the core opened a flood of memory bursting through the galaxy, light carrying voices, faces, histories of countless lost worlds, returning like firestorms, whole civilizations. Remembered again, their names, their songs, their legacies no longer forgotten. The human fleet stood in awe as light washed over them, their wounds healing, their fear melting, replaced by something greater. Every ship glowed brighter, powered by memory, by hope. The Forgotten were torn apart, their endless fleets scattering like dust, their voices breaking into silence. Keen's body was gone, but his voice lingered in the light, whispering across every ship, across every mind, "I am not gone. I am with you in every memory, in every fire, in every fight. Remember who you are. Never let them take it away." The Aurora drifted close to the core, its crew's silent tears running down their faces. Elara stood tall, her voice steady across the combs. "This war is over. The Forgotten are broken because we remembered, because we refused to be erased, because we are." Human, the fleet, roared in victory, their voices echoing across the stars. The core pulsed one last time, then dimmed, quiet but alive. Its light now, soft like a heartbeat, waiting. The defenders knew it was not just a weapon, it was a guardian of memory. And humanity had saved it. Sergeant Dahl clenched his fists, his voice rough. "We lost many, but they will never be forgotten. Their fire burns with ours." Specialist Aiko nodded, her eyes wet and shining, "Because Keen gave us back what they took. He gave us everything." Dr. Reese stood at the window, staring at the stars, whispering his name softly. Her heart heavy, yet proud. Elara placed a hand on her shoulder, her own eyes shining. "We will carry him with us, always, not as a weapon, not as a curse, but as proof of what we are." The Aurora limped forward, its engines sparking, but its spirit unbroken. The fleet followed behind. Scarred but alive together, they left the battlefield, leaving behind ruins of forgotten ships and the silent glowing core. Humanity had paid the price, but they had also lit a fire no shadow could ever erase. The galaxy would remember the forgotten aliens who made humans furious, and the humans who rose together and proved once more that fury, fire, and memory could outshine any darkness. The story spread across the stars, whispered in every world that survived, a promise that humans would never kneel, never vanish, never be silent again. And so the defenders returned, not as soldiers, but as keepers of memory, as guardians of fire. Their journey not ended, but only beginning, because across the endless stars shadows would rise again. But now the galaxy knew that when humans burned, when humans remembered, when humans fought together, nothing in creation could erase them ever again.